What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here to react to an absolutely blockbuster, draft-changing, draft-altering move by the San Francisco 49ers. The San Francisco 49ers have struck a trade that will move them from the number 12 pick in the draft all the way up into somewhere where they could pick a quarterback. Let's just say the San Francisco 49ers have moved themselves to the 3rd overall pick. Now, the 49ers have also made a move with the Miami Dolphins. The Eagles have been involved. This is a crazy move. This is a crazy trade. This is, like I said, draft-altering, draft-changing trade. So in this video, in this live reaction, I'm going to go through each team and discuss the process for each team and discuss why I believe they all made these moves, and then give you my thoughts on the moves that were made from each team. So, of course, we're talking about the San Francisco 49ers receiving the 3rd overall pick. We are going to discuss the Miami Dolphins getting the 6th overall pick in the draft from Philadelphia, a 2021 5th round pick, a 2022 3rd round pick, and a 2023 1st round pick. We're going to talk about the Eagles getting the 12th overall selection from San Francisco, a 2021 4th round pick, and a 2022 1st round pick. There's a lot of picks involved here. And like I want to start every trade that involves draft picks, guys. On the surface, the team that gets the haul of picks always looks like they win the trade. And in this case, it's the Miami Dolphins. But I will let you know that I come at it from an alternative perspective. I don't simply give you, oh, this team got more picks, this team loaded up so they win the trade. No, that's not how I work. Because after all, I know this is hard to understand for a lot of people. But when you have picks, you actually need to pick the right players. It's a crazy concept, I understand. But we need to discuss this, and we need to go through the process of what each team was thinking. So let me give you those trade details again so you kind of understand what's going on here, because I know for a lot of people it can be kind of crazy. So let's take a look at the overall details of the trade. So, again, this is how it began. The first tweet from Adam Schefter was that the Dolphins are trading the 3rd overall pick in the 2021 NFL draft to the 49ers. Okay? So this was independent of the Eagles' move. At least we thought, right? But then not far after that, we found out what happened with the Dolphins. Okay? So the 49ers sent the 12th overall pick, a 2022 3rd round pick, 1st round picks in 2022 and 2023 to Miami. Okay? So going over that again, the 49ers essentially sent 3 1st round picks and a 3rd round pick to Miami. So from there, Miami took some of those picks and determined and decided that they want to move back up. So they went on the phone with Philadelphia and they said, we'll give you the 12th pick and a 2022 1st rounder, and we want the 6th overall pick in this year's draft. So that's how it all went down. Those are the details of the move. So now that we understand that, we can discuss it. And I think a simple way of putting it is by looking at it this way, right? Okay? So we simplify it, right? So at the end of the day, when you're looking at this graphic, what are we thinking? What are we thinking? So to me, what does this mean? The 49ers are going to pick a quarterback. There's no way around it. There's no doubt about it. Now, who that quarterback is yet, we don't know. We can discuss some of the options. And once I give you my quarterback draft rankings, we'll have a better idea of who I would pick. I don't quite know that yet, but I'll go through the options and tell you who I think right now would be the best option. 49ers, 3rd overall pick, they're going to pick a quarterback. Okay, so the Dolphins, 6th overall pick. Why did they want the 6th overall pick? They wanted the 6th overall pick likely because they wanted to move back up to get a receiver of their choice. Most likely, okay? Maybe that means they're going to go tackle if Sewell drops to them, but I doubt that's going to happen. It's most likely going to be a receiver. And then the Eagles are dropping back to the 12th overall pick, and they're basically just trying to get extra picks for their rebuild. That is understood. I don't think there's too much complexity there or specifics in terms of who they actually want to pick. I think that more so has to do with San Francisco and Miami, less to do with Philadelphia, okay? Philadelphia just took the 12th overall pick to get the extra first in 2022 for their rebuild. I think it's less to do with what they want in the draft. So, by looking at that, we can now assess and break this trade down in a couple ways. So, the way I look at the trade is for San Francisco to win this trade, they need to find their franchise quarterback, and I believe they need to hit it out of the park. Like, they need to get this guy, a franchise guy, for the foreseeable future. That's obvious. But the more interesting thing here is Miami, right? Because Miami had the 3rd overall pick, and they decided that they didn't want it. So ultimately, what Miami was doing was looking at, this is at least what I assume they did. So they put a board up that said all their quarterback rankings, right? They had all their quarterback rankings from this year with Tua involved, right? This is at least what I would do, and this is what I think they did. Okay, so they had a list of the top 5 to 6 quarterbacks in this year's draft and Tua. So they ranked them. And my assumption is one of two things. They rather believe that Tua is better than the options that they could have picked at number 3. Okay? Whether that is Zach Wilson potentially, or maybe not. Maybe it's just Justin Fields. Maybe it's Trey Lance. Maybe it's Mac Jones. Okay? So Miami would have had to, at least this would be the smart process, go to your whiteboard, go to your blackboard, go to your whatever Excel document, okay? Put these guys up on a wall and say, who is better than who? Let's rank these guys. So maybe they had Trevor Lawrence first, or they had Wilson second. Maybe they had Tua third. So one of two things had to happen here. They rather had to say that Tua was better than these guys, or they had to say that the difference between Tua and these guys is not worth, picking another quarterback high in the draft. Instead, what we could do is trade back, and we could gather more picks to build around Tua. My assumption is that Miami looked at Tua in comparison to Justin Fields, in comparison to Trey Lance, in comparison to Mac Jones, I'm going to say those three, and said, maybe we like one or two of these guys slightly more than Tua, but the difference between Tua and them, it's not great enough. It's not big enough for us to pick those quarterbacks at this number 3 spot. So instead, let's flip, let's turn back, and let's gather some more selections to build this team. And if Tua is not the guy, we'll quickly find out, and we can then take these draft picks that we have gathered and then go all in once again to get the next guy. Because that's really Miami's process, okay? It's really as simple as, it starts with the decision of how good is Tua. That's what it really comes down to for Miami. Believe it or not. It comes down to, where does Tua rank in this draft? If he were to be in this draft right now, where does he rank? And if they determine that the difference in their evaluation of him, Justin Fields, and Trey Lance, and Mac Jones it's minimal, it's marginal, or that Tua is better, then the obvious move for them would be to trade back. So now what they've done here is they have basically said, we're going to get all these draft picks and we're going to build our team, or we're going to play out Tua this year. If Tua's awesome, great. He's our guy for the foreseeable future, right? But if he's not the guy, we still have enough picks where we can maneuver ourselves up the draft board to get the next guy, right? So I think it's fascinating to see what Miami does with these picks, because a lot of people are looking at Miami and saying, they're true winners of this trade. And I agree. Like, on the surface, Miami is the winner of this move, because to them, they have their quarterback, right? We've just determined that. And to them, right, they just get to build around that guy. They get more picks, and they still are able to move back to get a player that they would have liked at number 6 that they could have picked at number 3. But instead, they get an extra first-round pick. They get extra tools, right? So, for Miami, they're a winner of the trade on the surface. Again, on the surface. The winner of the trade will not be determined until these players are picked, until these picks see the field, right? We know this. Because here's the thing with Miami. Just like the Las Vegas Raiders, who traded Khalil Mack to get all these draft picks, in the first year of using their 3 first-round picks, Miami absolutely busted on, I would say, all 3 of them. Now, they like Tua enough to say that he's their future. But obviously, when you see that they could have picked Justin Herbert, that is somewhat of a bad pick in comparison to what they could have had in Justin Herbert. Because, guys, just think about it this way. If this move was done by Miami, who had Justin Herbert on their team, how much would we be talking about how Miami is a genius right now? And still, people are talking that way. And this is where it depends on who's talking about it, right? Because last year, I did not rank Tua very highly. I was not super high on him coming out of the draft, and I was much higher on Justin Herbert. And that's facts, and you can look back at my quarterback rankings. So this evaluation of Tua is still largely based on his college play and largely based on his pre-scout and how you scouted him coming out of college. So if you believed Tua was a top prospect and you love him coming out of college, you still feel like Miami has made the incredible decision here. But in my perspective, I'm seriously still wondering if Tua is your franchise quarterback. And truthfully, the reason I'm not in love with this trade is because my belief is that Tua is not that guy. Okay, so when I come at you with this analysis and I come at you with this approach, understand that it's because I don't think Tua is a franchise quarterback. Actually, I compared Tua to Jimmy Garoppolo, which I think is a serviceable NFL quarterback. I think he's an average NFL quarterback. You can win games with him. But does that mean he is a game changer? Does that mean he's a franchise quarterback? Does that mean he is the guy? No, not necessarily. And the interesting thing here is, could we see Miami be San Francisco right now in 2 years? That is where I am wondering. That is where I'm questioning, is this really the right move for Miami? This is why I was so pro trade for Deshaun Watson before we found out about Deshaun Watson. Now that's totally, can't do that, okay? Just write that off right now. That's totally different story in itself. Totally different video in itself. But the question will be, is Tua the guy? And it basically all comes down to, is Tua the guy? Miami believes he is. So that is what their approach is going to be. If I was the general manager, and this is why our opinions differ, if I was the general manager, I would still believe, seeing what I saw from Tua in his rookie season, that I would not that I would not be satisfied with the current quarterback situation, and I would be wanting another quarterback before it's too late. Because we look at San Francisco right now, and San Francisco, who the guy I just compared Tua to, Jimmy Garoppolo, they were not satisfied with Jimmy Garoppolo despite Jimmy Garoppolo taking them to a Super Bowl. Okay? So, that's the question, guys. Is Tua the guy, or is he Jimmy Garoppolo? Because if he's just Jimmy Garoppolo, and he's no better, and all of a sudden, I don't even know if he's as good as Jimmy Garoppolo, okay? That means Miami is going to want to trade up to get a new quarterback in 2 years. So, that's the question, guys. That's the question. No matter how good your team can be with these picks, do you have the quarterback? Because if you do not, it doesn't matter how many freaking picks you got. I'm just going to be honest. And considering the track record, just as I said with the Raiders, who traded Khalil Mack and got all these picks, well, what has that amounted to? Has that amounted to Pro Bowlers? Has that amounted to all-pro players? Or has that amounted to busts? Below average starters? Right? Miami, they had 3 first-round picks last year, guys. 3. Now, the jury is not out on all of them yet. Like I said, I think Tua is Jimmy Garoppolo. Fine, okay? It's cool. The other 2 guys, okay? We got Austin Jackson, a left tackle. Didn't play so well in rookie season, but, we knew he was a developmental prospect. We knew he's going to take time. So maybe he's got something. They're already replacing the last kid, the corner they drafted 30th overall. They already replaced him basically with Justin Coleman. So they obviously don't love that pick. So it's like Miami's first 3 first-round picks of this rebuild kind of all bust. And then you look at the second round and their average players, and it's like, I don't know, It's that's the tough thing here. So now let's take a look at it from San Francisco, because I know a lot of you guys are just wondering about San Francisco. Like, who are they going to pick? Like, what are they going to do? Who's the quarterback for them? That sort of thing. For me, this is tough to get into the brain of Kyle Shanahan, man. It's tough. Chris Sims tweeted earlier that he actually believes it could be Mac Jones, which I definitely take some stock into what Chris Sims says about quarterbacks, as well as about, Kyle Shanahan, because they're best friends. Now, I don't think they really talked about that at all, but I'm just saying, like, would Mac Jones be off of the typical quarterback route that Shanahan has gone down throughout the course of his career? No. When you look at Shanahan's track record of quarterbacks that he's had, Mac Jones is very comparable to somebody like Kirk Cousins or somebody like Matt Ryan or somebody like Jimmy Garoppolo. They're more pocket quarterbacks, more based on timing and precision and accuracy and, playing within a system as opposed to playing outside of a system, as opposed to playmaking ability from a physical standpoint. Not to say Mac Jones doesn't have physical ability, but it's to say, like, if you compare any quarterback in this crop to a guy that is comparable to, the ones that Kyle's already had and has had success with, right? MVP with Matt Ryan, nearly a Super Bowl, right? Lost the Super Bowl with Matt Ryan as the offensive coordinator to maybe the best team of the last 10 years. So, and it was in a heartbreaking fashion. So, if Mac Jones is Matt Ryan, maybe that's the pick. But then you look at the other ways, and you look at the other possibilities, right? So Trey Lance and Justin Fields are totally different from Mac Jones, like totally different. They're more dynamic athletes, more based on arm strength as opposed to accuracy. They're more based on physical tools and not necessarily what we used to value in the past in terms of playing in a pro system and, accuracy. And it's funny because I just interviewed, Matt Leinart on the Juke Pod, which is a reason to subscribe and listen to the Juke Pod with Dr. Jen Welter. I'm on the pod. Okay. We interviewed Matt Leinart, and I thought it was very interesting, how he was looking at quarterbacks and the way he was discussing them in terms of, it's funny because he said, we used to value the accuracy. We used to value the timing. We used to value, size and just those kind of pro skills. And if you could be accurate and you could do these things, you would be a great quarterback in the NFL. But then he's like, well, then you look at Mahomes and you look at Allen and you look at these top quarterbacks now, and it's almost shifted the perspective and shifted what we believe a quarterback can be and should be today. So, and he was very high on Mac Jones. I thought that was interesting. So, it's interesting just because Justin Fields, I think, would be nice. And again, guys, I haven't looked at these guys myself like deep enough. Like, I know them, I know their skills, but I don't know them deep enough to tell you I have this guy clearly over this guy, and that will come within the next month as we gear up to the draft, and I'll clearly be able to tell you, like last year where I was clearly on the side of Justin Herbert, or the year before that, so I can't really tell you who I would pick right now, but I do kind of feel, even though if Chris Sims says Mac Jones fits the billing, I kind of feel like Kyle wants a playmaker. I think when you look at the NFL right now and you look at the trends and you look at Kyle's offense, right? I think there's so much that could be maximized by having an athlete such as a Justin Fields who can run, who can throw the deep ball very well. Maybe he's not the most accurate guy, and maybe his decision making is a bit slow. That's what a lot of people say about him. That's the consensus, is that his decision making is slow. He takes time to go through progressions. But when you think about Kyle Shanahan's offense, a lot of guys in his offense are wide open. A lot of guys in it's a lot based on play action. It's a lot based on a couple of reads, as opposed to like a Patriot system where it's like, okay, this guy, that guy, this guy. You're more reading the entire offense or the entire defense, the entire picture. And with Kyle's offense, it's almost kind of like silver plattered throws a lot of the times. And you more so, I feel, in that offense, as we've seen with Sean McVay now, Sean McVay made this realization where Jared Goff is fine, like he gets the job done for us, but he's not special. And if I put Matthew Stafford in this offense, the amount of the amount of plays that are now opened up by his ability to throw the deep ball, his ability to throw the ball, right, is opened up massively. So when you look at Kyle, I almost feel like, sure, would Mac Jones be a good quarterback in his system? Yes. But who would be the great quarterback in his system? And to me, if Wilson's off the board at 2, which I strongly believe he will be, I believe it's probably going to be Fields, or it's probably going to be Lance, whoever they like more in that instance. Because those guys have more physical upside, similar to a guy like Josh Allen in that way. If you hit on those guys, you are without a doubt getting a superstar. And in Kyle's system, if I was him, I would be thinking that I would be able to minimize their deficiencies because of the offense that I run. And we've seen Kyle with a guy that can move before, right? Robert Griffin III won Rookie of the Year in his offense. And a lot of that was due to his ability to run and the creative things that you could do with that ability to run, right? So, and it opened up the passing game even more. It simplified the passing game to a point where you didn't need to have all these dynamic, different drop back passing concepts. And I think that almost in a way helps Kyle as well, because I think if there is a weakness to Kyle as a play caller, which he's truly one of the best in the league, it would be like just traditional drop back pass game from the shotgun, right? It would be having a Tom Brady or a Peyton Manning and doing that type of offense. A lot of what his stuff is based on is obviously based on his father and Gary Kubiak and that stuff, and evolving it from that standpoint. And by adding a mobile element, it takes the pressure off of the traditional passing. And I think it just makes the passing game overall simplistic, and it plays into the way that you want to play. Like, right, the way that I've been arguing for Cam Newton in New England is because that's the way that the Patriots want to play. They want to play grinded out football. They want to run the ball. They want to play defense. And with the San Francisco 49ers, Kyle's always going to be a run guy. Like, that's his thing. Outside zone, right? Play action. That's his thing. And by getting a guy that has that ability to strike deep, where Jimmy Garoppolo, the reason I think they've realized that Jimmy is no longer the future of this franchise, although we'll get to Jimmy in a little second here, is because he minimizes what you can do, right? The ability to throw the ball down the field for Jimmy is not really there. He is very good in an underneath passing game, in an intermediate, middle of the field, in between the numbers. He's got a quick release. He's pretty accurate over the middle. Again, has skills. But the thing with Jimmy is he could never maximize the deep ball. He could never take the top off of the defense. Okay, so by adding a quarterback with that ability, sure, will you have maybe one or two missed passes that Jimmy wouldn't miss on a 5-yard in route? Possibly. But will you be able to break the game open and hit a 25, 30-yard big play that Jimmy simply couldn't hit? Probably, right? So, and again, this game, I've been shifting towards this game with Kansas City and Tampa Bay and just offensive football from a philosophy perspective. It's less about the precision. It's less about the 5 yards here and 4 yards here and 3 yards there and 6 yards here and 10 yards here. It's less about the Drew Brees and the Tom Brady and the Peyton Manning, because you can only find so many of those guys, right? That are so smart, that are so cerebral, that are so accurate, that are so just incredible pocket passers. It's so hard to find Tom Brady. It's not going to happen. But you don't need to be able to execute offense at a 5-yard clip like you did, in probably 2010 to 2015, 2016. Now it's becoming more about the big plays, right? The home runs, the strikeouts. That's what it's becoming. It's becoming less about precision and more about playmaking. That's what I really think. That's why Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and, even guys like Kyler Murray to a certain standpoint, they are not Peyton Manning. They're not Tom Brady, but what they are, they're playmakers, right? They are not the point guard in basketball like a Tom Brady or a Peyton. They are the shooting guard, right? They are the guy that is making the play. This is the guy that's scoring. This is the guy that's getting the basket, okay? So that is kind of the way I look at quarterback right now, and that's where it's shifting, and that's kind of why I feel like these quarterbacks that are marginal, decent pocket passers, they're going out of style. Unless you're Tom Brady or you're Drew Brees or you're Peyton Manning, the ability to be that player, if you're average, it's just not worth it, because you're minimizing so many of the other things that give teams upside that it's not worth it. So yeah, that's my rant on quarterbacks, guys. But that is why, and the same token, I'm on the Cam thing over an average pocket guy, because it's what Cam can bring you, on 3rd and 3, as opposed to a Jimmy Garoppolo, he could just do more things, right? So if they're both average and the comparison's not Tom Brady, then I'd rather have the guy that can do more things and can open my offense up to a bigger degree of tools and weapons. So that is what I think the Niners are going to be looking at. That's what I think the Niners are going to do. I think the Niners are looking for their playmaking quarterback, right? As much as Chris Sims or anybody else will say that Kyle Shanahan likes the Mac Jones type because he doesn't go out of the system, he plays the way that Kyle draws it up. I think Kyle's gone through that now, where he's well, if Jimmy isn't perfect, he can never bail me out on this play. Every time I call this play, it has to be perfect from my play design, right? And I think guys like Kyle and guys like McVay are saying they're frustrated because they're saying, if I'm not perfect today in my play calls, we might not win. I never have a quarterback who can just bail me out with his physical tools. And that, I think, is why the 49ers, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, have determined that we don't care how much it takes here. We're trading up. We're getting our guy that is going to be able to bail me out, right? When things get tough and when my play call isn't perfect. Okay, that's my rant about the 49ers. Hope you guys enjoyed that a little bit. Gronk spiked the like button, guys, if you haven't already. I know we have 87 people in here, only 25 likes. So make sure that you do Gronk spike that like button. And some of you guys are talking about Zach Wilson. I don't believe Wilson will be there for them. So, yeah, that's why I never brought him up. I strongly believe that Zach Wilson will be taken by the 49ers. Or sorry, Zach Wilson will be taken by the Jets at number 2. My bad. Jets will take Wilson, okay? The reason, I don't see why the Jets, just think about it for a second, guys. Think about it logically, okay? So, why would the Jets not take this package if they were sticking with Sam Darnold? Think about it. If the Jets wanted to keep Sam Darnold, why would they not accept the trade that the 49ers just gave the number 3 pick, Miami? If the Jets wanted to keep Darnold the same way that Miami wants to keep Tua, why would the Jets not trade back? With all the tools and all the players and all the holes they have, why would they not trade back? It's just simple. It's very simple here, right? You don't need to be Albert Einstein to figure this out. So, to me, the Jets are picking Wilson. You can write it down, you can lock it up, you could get the key and throw it out the window. All right? Number 1's Lawrence. Number 2 is Wilson. Now, 49ers, you're on the clock. And as I said, it's going to be their decision. Which quarterback they like the most. Who is it? Who's their guy? Is it Lance? Is it Fields? Is it Jones? It will be their decision. Their decision. Okay? So the Jets are not affected by this because the Jets have determined who they want. And I guarantee you guys, think about it. The Jets, as far as I know, the Jets know the 49ers kind of well. You remember who their head coach is? Right? I'm pretty sure Kyle Shanahan or John Lynch could have just picked up the phone and been like, hey, Kyle, you want a quarterback? Or, they could have just been like, Robert Saleh was like, yo, Kyle, I'm picking Wilson, so, we're not trading this pick, bro. So, you might as well go to the 3rd pick. This is how this went down. You don't think the 49ers, they got them on speed dial. They got the Jets on speed dial, bro. They got them in their personal freaking iMessage chat, bro. They could have just went, hey, we'll give you this package. We were going to give to the number 3, but since you want to keep Darnold, guys, it's obvious. Darnold's gone. I'm sorry. Maybe Darnold's not gone, but Darnold's not the guy. Darnold's not the future. He's not. It's Wilson. It's Wilson. They're sold. They're sold. Okay. Enough of that. So, we discussed Miami. We discussed the Eagles. And we discussed the 49ers. Or we didn't discuss the Eagles. So, let's talk a little bit about the Eagles. Again, guys, if you don't know the exact details of the trade, here they are. So the 49ers received the 3rd overall pick. The Dolphins received the 6th overall pick and other things. 5th round, 3rd round, 1st round in 2023. Eagles received the 12th overall pick via San Francisco. They also received the 1st round pick in 2022. So those are the details of the trade. So when you're looking at Philadelphia now, I said at the beginning of the video, I said at the beginning of the stream, that the Eagles don't really care who they get. Okay, they don't really care who they get. They're just loading up for the future. They're obviously out of play for a quarterback. Now, what Adam Schefter reported from earlier was that the Eagles were interested in Wilson, but that was far too costly for them to be able to move up to get him. So it feels like the Eagles are going to keep Jalen Hurts. He will be their guy this year, and they will try to build a team through the draft this season and through the offseason next year. Potentially get a quarterback if Jalen Hurts doesn't prove to be the guy. So for the Eagles, it's rather simple. If you're an Eagles fan wondering about this, again, they got the 12th pick. Like, they'll probably pick the best player available. And knowing Philadelphia, they love the offensive and defensive lines. They could use a wide receiver if one is there. Possibly they pick a receiver. But I would very strongly say that they will not pick a quarterback this year, at least high. And they'll probably just use it to rebuild the foundation of their team. They're going to probably take a hit this year. They're not going to play very well this year. They're not going to be a top team this year. They're not going to be in competition for the NFC East. But they're at least going to find out what Jalen Hurts is going to be, if he's going to be the guy or not. And then from there, next year in the draft, they've got another 1st round pick that they can utilize. Whether that is to trade up, they can do it, right? Because they'll have 2 1st round picks next year. Or, whether they have a high enough pick already where they can pick a quarterback and then pick another piece to go along with that, and then maybe use Hurts as a trade piece. So that also leads me, that's pretty simple for Philadelphia, guys. It's pretty simple. They're not picking a quarterback this year. They've held that off for a year, and they're seeing what Jalen Hurts is. It's similar to the Tua situation, although Miami has somewhat more said that they're going with Tua, right? I think Miami is more attached to Tua than Philadelphia is attached to Hurts because, Tua was a 1st round pick. He was a high pick, and they just had the 3rd overall pick, and they traded it, right? So they basically said, Tua is our guy, and we're going to see if we can make this work. With the Eagles, it's more like, okay, Hurts has an opportunity here, but we're not tied to him. We're giving him an opportunity, but we have plenty of opportunity, to go elsewhere and fix it if he's not the guy. So there's a big difference between the two, in my opinion. Because Miami, if they didn't like Tua after the 1st year, they could have easily picked somebody at 3 and traded Tua away. It's not like they needed more picks, okay? It's nice to get all those other picks, but it's better to get those picks if they already have their quarterback, which they believe they do. Again, I don't, but they do. So that's what they're going to go with. Okay? What else? So, yeah, Miami. Who's Miami going to pick? I think it's going to be probably a wide receiver. Probably Chase. Maybe Smith, right? One of those guys. I would probably think that Chase would be the better of the two. But that's totally up to them. I don't think it will be an offensive lineman because I honestly think we'll see what the Bengals do. This is the other interesting part here. Is that this is how the draft now looks in the top 6. Right? So Jacksonville has the 1st pick. We know who that's going to be. The Jets have the 2nd pick. We know who that's going to be. It's going to be Wilson. 3rd pick, San Francisco. That's going to be a quarterback. Okay? Number 4 is Atlanta. Now, number 4, Atlanta could do a lot of different things. Atlanta could trade back. Atlanta could trade their pick to another quarterback needy team, whoever that may be. Number 5, Cincinnati could do the very same if Atlanta doesn't want to. Atlanta could pick a quarterback for all we know. They could. They very well could. I don't think they will, but they could. It's going to be interesting to see what Atlanta does, though. Atlanta, now the draft kind of starts with Atlanta because we know Jacksonville, New York, and San Fran are all picking quarterbacks. We don't know the quarterbacks necessarily, especially at number 3, but we do know that they're picking quarterbacks. Number 4, Atlanta, I don't know. Atlanta could pick a lot of different players because they've got a lot of different needs. But I do think, just looking at the quarterback situation, maybe they pick a quarterback and they have him sit behind Matt Ryan for 1 year. They could do that. Number 5, Cincinnati, I think they're not picking a quarterback. So they're rather picking Sewell, in my opinion. Okay, they're rather picking the tackle, or they're going to pick maybe a wide receiver or trade it away. Those are the only real, I think, picks for Cincinnati. But you would have to think it's going to be Sewell to protect Burrow, and then they're going to, it's rather that or they're going to trade the pick away. So number 4, Atlanta's kind of confusing, but number 5, Cincinnati is pretty obvious unless they trade back. Number 6, Miami, as we just said, because I think Sewell will be gone at number 5, I think that means that they go with the wide receiver at 6. They do need a wide receiver, right? Will Fuller's on a 1-year deal. Devontae Parker's getting older. He's fairly inconsistent as it is already. So they could use a young receiver to pair with Tua. So I do think number 6 is going to be wide receiver. That's just the way I look at the top 6 right now. Now, there's a couple other things to talk about. I know the big one, Jimmy Garoppolo, right? Jimmy Garoppolo. A lot of people were immediately saying, oh, the Patriots are going to trade for Jimmy Garoppolo. You guys know how I feel about that. I don't want that. I don't need that in my life. I'm good. It's no disrespect to Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't see why it would really be a good move on the part of the Patriots. Unless you were to get him for super cheap, but then at the same time, you're getting a contract that is not super cheap. You're getting a $23 to $25 million contract when you have a quarterback who's just as good as Jimmy Garoppolo for far less money, in my opinion. Again, guys, I've said it many times. I do not want Jimmy Garoppolo back, and that's no disrespect to Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't think he's what New England needs right now. I think the way they've built their team is for Cam Newton this year and for the future, whoever that will be down the road. And I do feel it will be a mobile quarterback. I don't think it's going to be a pocket quarterback like Jimmy. And honestly, I don't see the team being better with Jimmy as opposed to Cam. So I don't see that making sense from a cap perspective. I don't see that making sense because you've already signed Cam. If they didn't have Cam right now, I'd say, yeah, okay, maybe that makes sense. It probably does make sense. But because they already signed him, I'm off that bandwagon for sure. So, yeah, I just don't like it. I think Cam, the way the team is currently constructed right now, he fits the team better than Jimmy does. Okay? So, now the other thing with New England is they were highly publicized to like Justin Fields as well as to be wanting to trade up to get a quarterback. And I think that still could happen, but it would have to be, number 4 or number 5 at this point. Like, they're not going to be able to get the number 3 pick. So if you're New England, it doesn't really make sense to trade up for a quarterback because unless you really like the 4th quarterback, right? Unless you really like the 4th quarterback, because you have to be thinking, if you're behind the top 3 picks, how much do you like the 4th or 5th quarterback on the board? Do you feel good enough about them that you're willing to trade up to get the 4th best guy in this draft or the 5th best guy in this draft? As opposed to just waiting a year. They wouldn't play this year anyways. Waiting a year and getting another quarterback I don't know. Next year, supposedly the draft isn't as strong. You never really know for quarterbacks. I don't think New England's going to be in position next year to get a quarterback so it makes it tough on New England if they do want to trade up and get somebody. Because I think they're going to be too good to get a quarterback in the top 10 next year. And I think they're probably, in a position now where the best you're going to do is get your fourth favorite quarterback. So that's interesting for New England. What will they decide to do? Somebody asked me about the Lions. The Lions at number 7, I think you said. Are the Jets drafting Wilson? Yes, I believe so. The Lions, who could the Lions pick? I really don't know a specific player. That's tough, man. They lost Kenny Golladay, so certainly a wide receiver could be there for them, and that might be the best value on the board, would be one of the top 2 receivers, probably. But they have so many needs. I would have to look at it deeper to know who my favorite prospects are to really give you a good answer. And once we get to my mock drafts, I'll be able to give you a better answer there. But just thinking about it now, like wide receiver would make some sense. Mike says New England needs 10 rookies and trade picks for future drafts. More ammo to move up and jump everybody. Yeah, Mike, I think that might be the way to go in terms of the future picks. But if you're talking about this year, like again, Mike, it comes down to like, are you satisfied with the 4th best quarterback in this draft? Maybe you are, right? Maybe New England loves, like, say San Francisco picks Justin Fields. Maybe New England loves Trey Lance. Maybe New England loves Mac Jones. Like, maybe you're willing to make that move. But if you don't, I would agree. They are going to maneuver the board. That's what Belichick always does. And maybe that is trading for picks next year to be able to ensure you get your guy. Because from what I see, no matter who they draft this year, Cam's their quarterback this year, unless he gets hurt. And then in that case, it would be the rookie. So we'll see. We'll see what they do. But it makes it more interesting for them. 49er Media says, hey, good trade, man. Thanks for the 3rd pick. Not sure what you mean. Hadi says, thanks for a good, honest answer. Appreciate the response. No problem. No. No, they are not, Mike. I got... What? No rookie quarterback would be starting in New England first year. It's not happening. I could see them picking a linebacker. Edgardo says, feels great to be a Jags fan, not to worry about these moves. It must be nice. I think New England will be better than 8-8, for sure. Yeah, that doesn't mean that, they won't pick a quarterback in the 2nd round. They always are willing to do that. All right. I think I've kind of gone through everything for the most part. San Francisco, they're all in on the quarterback. We just need to see who it's going to be. And from my inclination, as I said in my rant, I think it will be one of the playmaking quarterbacks. Miami, yes, you got a haul of picks. Congratulations. You won the trade on the surface. But as we saw last year, you need to capitalize on the picks because last year you did not. And at the end of the day, it comes down to if Tua is the guy. Because I think if we were to look at this right now with Miami and Justin Herbert was their quarterback, we would be saying Miami is a dynasty in the making. But because we don't know what Tua is yet, and honestly, I've never been high on him, I can't tell you that Miami won't just be trying to get a quarterback in 2 years. So I'm kind of in the middle with Miami. Like, I love what they did in terms of the process, in terms of the capital, in terms of getting the picks, and in terms of what they can do with those picks. But the results have not lined up with the process quite yet for Miami. So we will see. I love the 49ers being aggressive because I think they're a team that can go all in on a quarterback because their roster is constructed very well. And I do think if you just find the guy to go along with Kyle Shanahan, that is going to mean consistent success no matter how good the roster is. And then if you look at it from an Eagles perspective, I like the move because you add another first-round pick. This is an older roster that you need to rebuild, and you give a year to Jalen Hurts to see if he is the guy. And I like Jalen Hurts enough to see if he is the guy. So ultimately, I like these moves for all the teams involved. I would say that the 49ers are certainly taking the greatest leap here and the biggest risk. Miami is taking the least risk, and they are, basically, Miami is basically just adding ammo for the future, and they're kind of putting off this quarterback decision for one more year if Tua, because they're still finding out what Tua is. So it's very interesting. This could be a NFL changing trade. I honestly think it will be. Depending on who's picked here and how this goes down and what the results are, this is an NFL changing trade. This isn't just an NFL draft changing trade. This is an NFL changing trade. And will determine a lot of the future of these organizations. So I'm excited, guys. I'm looking forward to the draft now. I'm finally into it. I'm getting into it. I want to tell you, I put off 2 essays to come on live here to do this for you guys. So now I got to go finish those. And we're almost wrapped up with school. So that is when I will be diving heavy into the draft and coming out with my quarterback rankings. And you Niners fans will have a better idea of who I think you should pick. If you enjoyed this breakdown of this blockbuster deal with the 49ers, the Eagles, and the Dolphins, make sure that you do Gronk spike that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the Bottom Line View for more NFL. Maybe this weekend, at the end of the weekend, I'll do some of the free agency signings that I missed out on, but we will see. Check out the free agency winners and losers videos that I did with Catch the Blitz. They were very fun to do. Let me know what you thought of those. And from Mitch of TheBottomLineView, again, guys, Gronk spike that like button, and please do subscribe for more NFL free agency and draft content. Peace.